How's it going, everybody? This is the Frames and Flames podcast. My name is Brian, and I am joined by my co-host, Max. We are both fire photographers, and we look forward to an amazing show talking about all things fire photography and emergency services related. Just a quick disclaimer, this is not a professional podcast, so you may hear some sneezing or a fan, but please bear with us. Also, this podcast will contain some profane language and have some discussion topics that are not suitable for sensitive viewers. So viewer discretion is advised. With that, enjoy the show. This is the Frames and Flames podcast. Good evening, ladies and germs. My name is Brian Bonner, and welcome to the Frames and Flames podcast. I am joined by my co-host, Max Myers. I run 760 Fire Photography, and Max runs 1076 Media. We both worked together when I lived in Idaho. I now live in Colorado as a paramedic student. Max is still in Idaho.
So like Brian was saying, my name is Max. I run a page called 1076 Media, based out of Boise, Idaho. Started a couple years ago, and I guess we can kind of get into the history here because this is a bit of an introductory podcast. Words are hard. This is why I take pictures. I don't talk. So yeah, based out of Boise, Idaho. Started a couple years ago, and I really don't have a good story as to how this started. I just picked up a camera. Years ago, I'd always been interested in video and that kind of stuff, and at some point I just decided, you know what, I in high school I was wanting to get into law enforcement. I am kind of more a hybrid of all emergency services, and Brian, you're more fire focused. Yeah, whatever. We'll talk about that in the future. But I was really into law enforcement. That's the route that I wanted to go out of out of college, that whole thing. And then at some point, I just kind of, I had an internship in high school with a PD, that kind of thing.
Max, can I play the song?
Which one? There we go. Okay. I knew that's where you were going.
You knew exactly what direction I was going.
Yep. But yeah, I basically realized it's kind of a niche thing. This is a weird blend between actual first responding work and emergency service and photography. So I originally went into it with the aspect of news focused. I wanted to be, when I started, I was pretty much the only freelance stringer to use that terminology. It really was kind of the only one in the Valley doing news focused video work. And yeah, call me a stringer. We'll talk about that later. I don't officially call myself a stringer. I don't do as much news now as I used to. It's a weird market here, and that's something that we can probably talk about later as well.
But Halloween's a prime example.
Oh yeah, Halloween was that was a big old nothing burger for us. Again, we probably should have gone on Hollow Weekend and not Hollow Monday. But
I mean, I was working all weekend.
Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, I essentially, long story short, just picked up a camera and realized I can shoot first responders and photograph them. This is kind of a niche thing. And I think that's a relatively similar story to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was in college. I went to college, dropped out of college. Now I'm back in college.
Yeah, this is a whole long story for me.
I was in college. I had to take an elective, took a photography elective under Dr. Raymond Elstad. This dude, I swear to you, was like the biggest fucking hippie stoner I've ever met in my entire life. But he was the funniest professor. Like if somebody would show up late, doesn't actually know their names, you go, God damn it, Jose. Or like, what the? Or if you were doing something dumb, you go, oh God. And we had to do a photo shoot for I can't remember what fucking project it was, but I was driving home and I saw an engine going and I could see smoke in the distance and I was like, oh, let's fucking go. I mean, excuse me. Coke Zero makes you burp like a motherfucker.
That's Sprite for me.
I think that's Sprite for anyone, dude.
Yeah, that's fair. That shit is built.
Back to the story. I've been wanting to be a firefighter since I was a little kid. I mean, what kid doesn't want to be a firefighter? But went to that fire, took some photos. Now in the grand scheme of things and looking at my photos now, those photos are fucking terrible.
Digging back, please don't anybody go down on our Instagrams and like do
I archived all those posts.
Yeah, it's not worth it. Some of my stuff that I shot like as I was kind of feeling things out before officially launching the brand, like there's some of this stuff where just like,
dude, they were so bad. I was like, oh my God. One of them still hangs in a fire station in San Diego. I shit you not.
It's like just
Um,
because you are on scene and you took a picture does not qualify it as a good like on scene picture.
They
Like
thought it was
there's
good.
yeah, well, yeah, there's you got to have artistic quality, which for what we kind of do, which is the more artistic side. Where
Yeah.
it.
I
Anyway.
mean, but other than that, it kind of went and spiraled from there. I mean, I've been doing this for 5 years now. I've been published. The covers are hanging on the wall right next to me. 3 times in a magazine and once in a local paper. I mean, it was kind of fun. One of the first photo I ever took that got published had some really sentimental meanings because it was it was the night before my brother's funeral. Was when that photo was taken. Because I was sitting at my desk after the viewing because his mom's family's from the South, so they had to have a viewing for some reason. Not my personal cup of tea.
It's an interesting concept.
It's a southern. It's seriously, it's a southern thing, dude.
Yeah, I've been to both. I don't know. It's weird.
It's a southern and a Catholic thing. I found out.
Yes.
But I was sitting at my desk being all sad because my brother just died the night before his funeral.
As one
Tones go off for a rope rescue, like less than a mile from my house. I knew I was gonna be first on scene. I looked up at the ceiling and I word for word said, "Seriously, motherfucker, I couldn't be sad for one night."
He's keeping your
We
mind
get
off
there.
of it.
I beat the first in company. That's how fast I got there. Do not drive like me, kids. Max has seen me drive.
I followed you. We're not, this is on closed road courses and professional stunt drivers,
Yeah. But I get there. First in company rolls up probably a minute after I do. This dude, I shit you not, has gotten drunk, wandered down this. Have you ever been to Escondido, California? I mean, you've been to Escondido.
Yeah. I'm
the big storm canal that runs through the center of town.
Yep.
Over by Harmony Grove, that dude had crawled down the side of the canal and wedged himself into one of the 14-inch storm pipes with a 48-inch pipe right next to him. And I'm sitting there
smart
looking at him with the EPD officers, and they're like, "What? Why?" And I was like, dude, I'm
Just
like
don't
19.
go in here.
I don't know. And the fire guys pulled him out. And this dude was so drunk. He goes, "Man, I was trying to take a nap."
It's like this is not a hotel, buddy. This is not what we're doing here.
My story's not that exciting. I mean, some of the stuff I've gotten to do is really exciting.
Yeah.
But my story is not that exciting. Max for those, Max will probably tell you because Max likes to tell everybody this.
Yeah.
He's the principal videographer for Boise State football.
For the marching band, not for football.
For the marching band.
So I'm relatively new to the emergency services world, specifically with photography. I've only been doing it for we're going on 3 years now, so I don't have as much of a tenure as you. But I've been doing commercial video.
Did you just call me old?
Yeah, we'll go with that. But I mean, I've been doing video for a good number of years, professionally and commercially for the better part of probably 5-ish years. And by no means, I'm sure there are some salty dudes listening to this who are thinking like, who are these two young fucks? Yes, disclaimer, we're both young. We're in our 20s.
I mean, you're what, 24?
Yeah.
I'm 23. I mean, fuck.
No, I'm a goddamn idiot. I'm 23. We're
23?
like the
Wait,
same
who's
age.
older? What month were you born in?
October.
Oh,
I think
older.
you are by a little bit. Yeah. We've figured
Fuck, I
this
am
out
old.
before. Yeah.
God damn it.
By like a couple months, you idiot. Anyway, so I've been doing video stuff like since high school and through college, that kind of thing. But outside and adjacent to the 1076 project, I do video production for a handful of people, but my biggest project has been a long-term relationship with the marching band at Boise State, which is a super long story that does not have anything to do with this, so we're not going to go into why I started there. But for the last several years, I've been the main videographer there, working with the rest of the media team. We have another photographer and another video guy who does more like corporate video production. Unfortunately, this was his last season, so he's moving off to do bigger and better things, which just leaves me and the other photographer.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's my other side. Max's
other side is really rooted in video and photography. Mine is not. I am an EMT, so I get paid to get pooped on and make less than people that work at Chick-fil-A, weirdly enough. And for those of you that are just figuring this out, Yeah, EMTs don't make any money. Like even paramedics.
Especially not starting
in Ada County, where I used to work as a volunteer, the paid EMTs only made $15 an hour. The medics only made about 20. And when I left California as an EMT, I was only making $14 an hour. I was like, God damn, but that's a story for another time. With Max being a videographer and me being an EMT, we're going to go into our first news story of the night, which is Damar Hamlin has been discharged from the Buffalo Medical Center and is going to continue his rehab at home. For those of you that don't know, which I really, if you don't know about this by now, you've been living under a rock.
I only know about this because people have talked about this. Which is another funny thing for somebody who's embedded in an athletic program at Boise State. I know jack shit about sports. So
you think I know anything about sports?
You know more about the sports ball than I do.
Dude, I literally was an offensive lineman. I got told to get hit and hit people. That's all I needed to know.
I don't know anything. But anyway, regardless, this is actually not the story I thought you were going to lead with, which is why I was
going to lead with Damar Hamlin when we went into the introductions because it makes sense.
Yeah, we'll get into what I was laughing at later on.
Okay. I know what you're laughing at.
Yeah,
sick fuck.
That's what I'm waiting for.
So Damar Hamlin, for those of you that don't know, suffered an immediate cardiac arrest on the field after blunt force trauma to his chest during a hit. He stood up, swayed a little bit, went down. CPR was performed for 9 minutes on the field by the athletic trainer, the team doctors, and the paramedics at the stadium. He was then transported to University of Cincinnati Medical Center and was brought back and was recovering. The first words that he wrote on a whiteboard when they were starting to kind of wake him up before they extubated him was, "Did we win?" I shit you not. That has been confirmed by his agent and the hospital staff. The first words out of his mouth when he woke up was "much love to my boys," because unfortunately, at least Max has seen it as a videographer. I've seen it in my career all the time. CPR is not a pretty thing. It's very, very ugly in what we do. And it's one of those things where if you don't experience it and you become callous to it like we do, it's like, But for those 50 to 100 players that were on the field and the 90,000 people in the stadium and the 3.5 million Americans at home watching this was crazy to them. And for me, it was just like, okay, CPR in progress. Let's go. Game time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really glad he's okay because that is not an injury a lot of people come back from. Like he got hit. I mean, I'm not going to go super into cardiology here because you got your basic cardiac waveform. The T wave is your last wave before your heart resets and does the beat again. He got hit right at the end of that T wave, right in the dead center of his left ventricle. And that sent him into immediate cardiac arrest. And
it was my understanding that that's a relatively rare thing. Like that's not something, at least in terms of trauma, like that's
in terms of blunt force trauma. I've never seen it. I know medics that have gone 20 years and never seen it. It only happens to like 400 or 500 people in the US annually.
Yeah.
And you think of 325 million Americans plus however many other million tourists that come here every year. Like that's a really small amount of people, like less than 1%. Second news story is kind of a sad one. Damar Hamlin, I figured I would lead with some good news. We are into for those of you that don't watch the news, California is currently experiencing a bomb cyclone and some really crazy thunderstorms. I'm from SoCal. Max is from SoCal. I hate to tell you guys in Idaho, we are both from California.
I've spent the majority of my life here though, so don't yell at me too much. Yell at Mr. Although now you bailed out of Idaho, so
I was like, see ya.
Yeah, whatever.
So in California, as of what's today, the 11th?
Yeah.
So as of yesterday at 9:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Fox News is reporting at least 17 people have been confirmed dead and 200,000 homes and businesses are without power all up and down the northern coast of California. That's really the only news story, but to our boys out there on rigs, on ambulances, squad cars, on dozers, excavators, props to you for being able to work out in that. That is some seriously ballsy conditions, and you guys are straight fucking gangsters.
Yep. Yeah. That's got to be crazy work. And I know a couple of photographers that have been covering that. Also, I just want to say I use the term photographer a little loosely. I'm talking about anybody who has a camera and is shooting events, whether you're a professional stringer, freelance photojournalist, videographer, or actual stills. I'm calling you a photographer. But yeah, I know some of the guys out there that are covering that stuff, and it's gnarly to see. And I mean, the nice thing is it is a big story, so it's getting picked up, but these guys are getting national recognition. So that's cool to see that kind of thing when I see some folks that I know behind the camera and their work's getting shown out. That's nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, that's a national story. I mean, aside from the shit show that was Congress the other day, I don't know if you saw that. Like, Matt Gaetz almost got into a fist fight with another congressman. I was like, what the fuck is happening on the congressional floor right now?
Yeah.
It was terrifying, but also hilarious because, when does DC elites ever try to fist fight each other?
Yeah.
But the last news story we're going to go into, and this is the one Max was laughing at because he has no soul, like I do. Neither of us have souls, as you can tell.
Yeah.
2 Springfield, Illinois first responders are charged with first-degree murder after a patient died on their gurney.
Which I heard that, and I'm like, what the actual fuck?
First off, why?
And how?
It gets better.
Typically, that's the kind of situation where you're trying to help them, right? They're on the gurney because, you're...
I mean, I've had patients die on my gurney before. It happens. I mean...
Yeah.
It's not the first time. It's not gonna be the last somebody's died on my gurney.
As shitty as it to say par for the course, but
So, State's Attorney Dan Wright in Illinois said EMS workers were called to the home of the victim in December 2022, where Moore, the victim, was. He explained that Cadigan and Finley, the 2 first responders, placed Moore face down on the gurney and tightened the straps. Knowing based on their training, and this is a quote from the State's Attorney. Knowing based on their training, experience, and surrounding circumstances that such acts would cause and create probability of great bodily harm or death, said Wright. Moore died on December 18th at a local hospital from asphyxiation. One, being an EMT, how in the fuck do you do the most basic thing that we do wrong? Like, this isn't criking somebody, placing an IV, giving drugs, defibrillating. Putting someone on the gurney correctly and make sure they're secure is like the easiest fucking thing that we do.
That agency is going to have to start like putting this side up stickers on their patients before they load them. Like, I just don't understand how. I don't
either. Like, I've put somebody on the gurney face down before to like make sure there's no exit wounds and shit, and then flip them back over.
Well, yeah, there's like rolling them, but
you don't
straight up put them fully face down like that
and then strap them down like that. Like, what the fuck?
Enough to the point where he died of asphyxiation. Like, that hurts my brain trying to comprehend. My question is,
how did he die of asphyxiation? Did they strap his head down? Like, what the fuck?
Illinois.
So tonight, folks, we are going to go over kind of fire photography as a whole, what we do, equipment that we use, how to be safe while you're doing it, because our biggest pet peeve, and I can show you guys screenshots if we ever want to go to jail, of Max and I just absolutely ranting about other photographers in the Boise area and San Diego area that literally can get themselves killed or hurt or ruin it for everybody because they are way too close to a scene, no PPE, using fucking cell phones for one. That's just a crime to photography.
I am seeing that more and more here.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. The iPhone camera takes some really awesome photos.
Yeah.
But
it does not compare to a professional camera, though. And
but it's becoming a problem because documentaries like Code 2.0 and Shot in the Dark, which were fucking awesome. I give 100% props to those guys that made that and those guys that were in that. They're professionals. They know what they're doing. They have their...
Netflix might have made the story a little bit more interesting for Shot in the Dark.
It's Netflix.
But those guys have history behind them, and they are good photographers. I'm not
talking shit about them or the production crews. They made a great film. I actually enjoyed it.
It's entertaining. Yeah, Code 2.0 and the crew behind there, that is more documentary style. I'm gonna say that's a little more true to life than Shot in the Dark is.
Shot in the Dark's more of a movie.
Yeah, it's they're making a story with real life people, but it's still they're both entertaining. They're valuable pieces of media and entertainment.
And shows what we do.
Yeah.
The problem is now everybody with a camera.
Like the problem is it's showing people what we do.
think they can come to a fire scene or a
Yep.
shooting scene or accident or something and do this thing. Like Max will tell you, like he's seen me on a structure fire. Like,
Yeah.
I got a reflective vest, a helmet. Like I got fucking everything on.
Yeah, everywhere we go, we make sure that we are noticeable. And this is something that I do on more the police side as well. I make sure that I am visible. So when I'm out at night, I have a light on my camera. Because I shoot video, I have a larger video rig, and I make sure that even if I'm not using it, it is still on so that you can see me and you can see my light. Because the last thing, this is kind of a motto or a mission that we both go by and we've talked about before. Our biggest thing is we are failing as photographers if you have to worry about us on a scene. The perfect scenario is a situation where you don't have to worry about us. You know that we're there.
But you just don't give a fuck.
You're aware. Yeah, but you know that we are not in a position to get ourselves hurt, not in a position to get somebody else hurt, or just to take away from you and your ability I'm speaking to a first responder, your ability to do your job and carry out the scene, because we are not important there at the end of the day. We don't have to be at a fire. We don't have to be at a traffic collision. We don't have to be at a crime scene. We're there, we do serve a purpose, and I'm not trying to be all high and mighty here, but there is value to what we do, but absolutely we're not important to that scene and the progression of the incident.
Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we don't fucking matter to what's going on there.
No.
We can't assist in firefighting operations. I mean, yeah, I've helped at the end of an incident and changed out bottles and shit like that for guys that I know.
Again, people that you know and
Yeah,
that
like
they
Gino
know
and
your
Drew
experience
and-
and training. That is completely different to
Like-
a random dude walking up.
The fire was over and they were like, hey, can you help me swap out a bottle? Like I've swapped out their bottles. Like I always check in with incident command. Granted, I really only go to C shift Caldwell fires when I was there because fucking Chief Nye is awesome and he loves me. And he doesn't love me. He puts up with me.
Most everybody.
Because I mean, you build a rapport with these guys and they know that you know what you're doing, and they trust that fact that you know what you're doing because they have something to focus on and they can't waste their time focusing on you, especially because in a fire, at least from my personal experience, you take your eye off the ball, somebody can fucking die.
Yeah.
Like a crime scene investigation, it's a little bit different because obviously the incident is technically over, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But there really is no comparison from what we do to other photographers that do stuff like nature, action, sports action. Like there's really no
and not
comparison.
knocking them. It's just a completely different beast.
Yeah, it's a different, like I could not go and do professional football photography. Like that's not something I know how to do. Even fucking wedding photography, I can't even do.
No. Yeah, one of the big things that you mentioned there, and this is going to quickly turn into the ranting segment of our podcast. Get used to it, everybody. One of the big things you mentioned is trust. And for me, I am really big on relationships, and if I love to get to know everybody. So if I have the opportunity, again, not in a way that's going to take away from the incident when it's over, when everybody's debriefing, that kind of thing. If it's somebody that I haven't seen before, I'll take that opportunity to introduce myself, hand out a business card, that kind of thing. But in addition to that, if it's somebody I know, have a little banter back and forth, take that time when we can. But if I'm on a scene where I know nobody, which thankfully I'm fortunate enough to kind of say that is rarer these days.
And I mean, if we know Gino, we know everybody.
Well, yeah. But on the Boise side, I don't actually think we talked about this much. When you were up here, we kind of covered different areas. I've always been more Boise focused, and Brian's been way more focused on Canyon County, specifically, again, Caldwell C shift.
And that for me was another thing because I worked in Ada County. I really tried to stay out of there because one, I didn't want to turf Max because at the time I really didn't know him that well.
Yeah. And it was actually Fools that brought us together, which I think that would be a good
topic for
whole
Gino.
Story of us. Yeah. Save that for when Gino's on the podcast.
But the really cool thing was I worked in Ada County with Ada County paramedics as a volunteer EMT reserve. So I didn't want to go there and act as a photographer and try to use my connections and stuff because I wouldn't try that. If you get backed into a corner, you might name drop a little bit. So I stayed in Canyon County, and I got to build a really great relationship with a firefighter. And he's an engineer now. Fuck, he got promoted.
Yep.
Named Gino Galli with the Caldwell Fire Department. We'll try to have him on soon. And another firefighter named Drew McConnell, who is now a captain with the Caldwell Fire Department. And I've gotten to do a lot of really cool stuff with their training organization, with Max, and with their department as a whole.
Being that I cover the same area, I have, and having been doing this for almost 3 years now, you do start to build those relationships. So I'm fortunate enough now where when I go on the average scene, there's a good chance that I'm going to know at least one person, and that kind of helps to break down the ice. But even if I'm somewhere where I have never, I don't know anybody on that crew, or there are occasions where I'm stepping out into a different jurisdiction, because I work the closest with Boise Fire.
I was just thinking about this. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
Fools is not where we met. It was Chief Johnson's funeral.
That is true.
Very sad reason we met, but that's where we met.
That is the official opportunity. Yeah. Oh God, that was a while ago.
Fuck, that was almost a year ago, bro. It's like 7 months away from being a year ago. It was July 2022.
Yeah.
We'll get into that story in a little bit.
23. Yeah. But I need to finish the story, otherwise I will take another like 30 minutes to get through it. It's just, if I'm somewhere where I have never met anybody, I don't know anybody on scene, I want to give off the feeling of trust to first responders. And that's going back to what we were saying with trust and accountability on scene. Even if somebody has no clue who I am, they have no clue what my company is, what my brand is, I want to be positioning myself and acting in a way that's going to give off the feeling of trust so that they don't have to worry about me. We've both seen some really stupid things on scenes before, and
Panda Guy.
Yeah. Oh God, that's a whole. Okay, we got to talk about Panda Guy.
We have to talk about Panda Guy, bro.
I think it's on my Instagram.
It was on your Instagram story.
Yeah. And then I posted it on my personal, but we shot this DUI rollover in Caldwell together. This was on our. We should have filmed more of the adventure that night, but this was our Halloween.
Well, we were too focused on shit talking with each other.
Yeah. And we in this neighborhood, this car had rolled onto its side. The female was arrested for DUI.
She wasn't arrested.
Oh, that's right. She was cited and released.
So
that
like Max is saying,
technically an arrest.
This is the middle of the night. Like, this is what, 1 a.m. on Halloween?
1 or 2 a.m, yeah.
We were just hanging out, trying to catch things. It was slower than snail shit. Like,
yeah,
we were bored off our asses.
Yeah.
First call we go to in the night was a car into a tree with suspicious people running away.
That is a good
We get there, and it's like 7 teenagers
that were piled
changing
into
a
this,
tire.
On this little sedan, like it's probably like a Civic or something. Just
like
this
the
tiny
engine's
little
there,
thing.
law enforcement's there, and we're all sitting there like, what the fuck?
Yeah, the RP, because we heard it get put out over the radio when dispatch was saying that RP saw a car into a tree, multiple people bail out and flee. So they're thinking like, is it, stolen vehicle?
Possibly multiple patients? Like,
yeah, like, is it a big medical thing? Is it a big LE side? Is there going to be an investigation? Why are they bailing out of this car? A, how'd they hit this tree? B,
Tons of
why are
weed.
they bailing? Yeah, what's the situation? No, we get there and the car's perfectly parallel parked on the curb, totally fine. And there's like 7 kids out there changing a tire. And
we're just sitting there like, what the?
Yeah. So that was our first call of the night.
Second call, like Max said, was a DUI rollover in the city of Caldwell. Props to the Caldwell PD guys who both looked really confused as to why we were standing there.
Yeah. We were bored, honestly.
And
I probably not a call to feed, but we were
this
bored.
wreck. It was kind of entertaining, honestly. I feel bad for saying that.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I don't. I don't have a soul.
No.
This car is a residential street at 1 o'clock in the morning on
Where
Halloween.
the speed limit's like 25. Not that that matters. But
there's no one else out. It's not a rural area of Caldwell, so there's no like deer or anything that would run out, no dogs. This lady, I don't know how old she's probably in her 20s, I would say.
20s,
like
30s.
late 20s.
Yeah.
She had tagged a parked car. And when I say, you guys will hear me say some like first responder lingo. So Max may have to translate. I will try my best to translate it. She tagged a parked car and flipped her car onto its side. So we heard extrication response. So we obviously started rolling. Medic 5-2 from the Canyon County Paramedics, they messaged me about that story and they were like, "Hey, were you guys there?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yep.
They're like, we were wondering who you guys were.
You're like, yep. That's a lot of the responses. Oh, were you on that call? Yep.
So that's who you guys were.
Yeah.
So they advised that the patient was extricating herself. And I'm not saying this to shame anybody, but I don't know how she got herself out of that car because she was not a small person.
Yeah, not to mention the car wasn't super stable either.
Yeah.
But she had managed to crawl out of the window.
Like, I don't know how she got out because one, she wasn't very small and she went out the back window. And I'm saying this is I'm a big dude. So is Max. Like, I mean, I drive a truck for a reason.
Yeah.
We get there. She's already extricated. Medics are evaluating her, so we can't obviously film that because that's HIPAA violations, and we don't want to go to fucking court over that.
Nope.
Which people can sue us over.
Yeah.
And you know, the homeowner's coming out trying to touch things, and the officers really aren't seeing them. So Max and I are telling them to back the fuck off.
Yeah. Respectfully, you know, you don't want to mess up an investigation.
Yeah, we told them, we're like, hey, you got to back up. Don't touch anything. Like, let them do their thing. They'll come talk to you.
And that's purely from, you know, so that the investigation can be as true as possible. And that way, by them not interfering, you know, the investigation is true. It's legit. It's easy for them. And it's the better chance as a property owner, you know, that has something damaged, having a solid investigation and having things not being tampered with is a better chance that things will work out to getting, you know, insurance and making it easier. Again, we're not an expert on this. It's just generally that's the way that works.
But so cops we're talking to one of the officers. One of them was obviously new because he was very like standoffish.
Yeah. Again, for people that don't know, I mean, it's one thing in California, but
where they're fucking everywhere.
Yeah, you know, on a professional level, it's pretty much us, and there's a couple other guys who are starting as well. It's a very niche group.
I mean, let's be honest, Max. It's really just us.
I don't want to knock anybody, and I'm
not knocking them. Like they're just not like they're
like this.
Not
this
to the
business,
level that we're at.
This is a brand. Yeah. But it's a foreign concept, you know, and truthfully, we did just kind of pop up out of nowhere. You know, there's not really a lot of warning. And so for people that aren't used to seeing us on scenes, I do get it. You know, we're not something that that used to be there. We're kind of here now.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that's like, yeah, we exist. Thankfully, I think we have kind of made the Treasure Valley First Responder community know who we are.
Yeah.
And that's spread around, which is good. But back to the incident story. So medics released her. She walked over. You could tell she was drunk or high or something. I don't actually know if they ever determined what she was.
Because they were running field sobriety tests, the standard, like the walk and turn, one leg lift.
I mean, you can run that for a narcotics high too.
They ran that. She was not doing too hot on it. But yeah, besides the point, we're sitting here. I mean, again, to paint the picture, it's like 1 or 2 in the morning on this residential street with a car flipped over, and this dude in a panda onesie smoking a cigarette comes out of nowhere. Like he literally, like, I'm starting to realize what it must be like when we show up to a scene.
Like Max was recording the car because the engine had just pulled away, the ambulance had just pulled away. And I'm like, Max. He's like, what, dude? I'm like, look at that fucking guy in the panda suit.
Just shows up out of nowhere.
Like, I swear this dude walked out of a bush. Like, I don't know where the fuck he came from.
Don't know where he came from. And then he just like walked down the street into the darkness when he left. Like, he showed up, literally, like, it looked like he was just kind of looking at it like, huh, so that's a thing. Pulls out a cigarette, smokes it, walks away. Like, that was Panda Guy at 1 a.m. on Halloween.
I was so confused because he came back more than once. Didn't he bring a kid with him the second time?
Yeah. Like, what? That's the story of Panda Guy.
Panda Guy is going to be one of my favorite stories from Idaho.
It just because it has that what the fuck value.
It's also Idaho. Like, some weird shit happens there.
Like, just the last thing you would expect is a dude in a panda costume come rolling up.
Yeah, I mean, that call wasn't really eventful. I mean, it was kind of cool to
No.
watch the car get flipped back over. That tow truck driver, that dude fucking handled that shit like a pro.
Yeah. Lot of respect to tow truck drivers.
Like, thankfully in Idaho and Colorado, where I am now, it is a law. If you see a tow truck with its lights on, you got to move the fuck over.
Yeah. Anything on the side of the road. And it's good common practice to do with passenger vehicles as well. Just
Yeah.
give them room. You never know what'll happen.
You don't need to pancake nobody.
No.
I mean, it's job security for me, but it's not a good thing.
No.
One day though, Max and I were still kind of newly friends at this point. I was at Walmart getting ready to drive down here for something. I see a big old plume of smoke at the Walmart in Nampa. I'm looking over and I was like, what is that? Looked down at my phone. I was like, that's smoke. So then I started to smell it. So I called Max and I was like,
from Nampa.
And where this building was about 20 miles away, give or take.
It is the heart of central Boise.
Like, it's not close to where this Walmart is. And I called Max and I was like, hey, are you on a structure fire right now? And he goes, no.
But I could be.
And I was like, you should probably check Pulse Point because there is a massive plume of thick black smoke. And I can see that shit from Nampa.
Oh no, I even I looked out one of my windows and I saw the plume. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's a thing. So get on the radios and start hearing that. And that for
didn't that
the
go
Boise
like
guys
fourth
that
alarm?
Know, third. It was only
third?
a 3 alarm. But it
was
was
a
the
monster.
largest. Yeah, it was the largest fire that Boise's seen in a while. For those that don't know, we're talking about the Youth Ranch fire in the summer of 22, which was last year. That hurts me.
I already feel fucking old.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the Youth Ranch fire. That was the biggest in terms of volume, the biggest fire that I've shot.
I mean, I've seen bigger. Obviously, being from SoCal and shooting down there, I've seen some really big fucking fires.
Yeah.
But that structure fire apparently was one of the toughest to fight because the Idaho Youth Ranch, for those of you in California and around the nation that will be listening to this, hopefully, please don't hate us for our stupidity because we are kind of a couple of assholes that like taking pictures of shit that's on fire. The Idaho Youth Ranch is like Goodwill, AmVets, Salvation Army type thing.
Third-party donation thrift store.
Same concept. And this was their distribution warehouse. So there was just piles of clothes and cardboard. And
you could, I'm pretty sure, as long as it hasn't updated, you can go back and look at like Street View or like Google Earth, and you will just see like cardboard cartons and pallets with clothing and stuff stuffed in here. And it was
like, this was we call it a fireman killer. Like, if something collapses in there, dudes are going to fucking die. So Boise, like, sometimes I have my problems in Boise. Like, but being an Ada County EMT, I've worked a lot with them, and professionally, some dudes are assholes. I mean, every department has assholes.
Yep. Every
working with them
has assholes.
Professionally, those dudes are some of the best firemen I've ever seen. Like, they know their shit, they know what they're doing, and they know how to fight a fire, which matters to me.
Yeah.
That's all I care about on a scene is like, do you know what you're fucking doing, and do I have to worry about you? Yes or no?
Not that it ultimately doesn't really matter to us. It's just, hey, if you guys are doing cool shit, it'll look good on camera, and everybody always appreciates some good photos. But yeah, that was a huge fire. I was on that for probably 3 or 4 hours, I think.
Wasn't Captain Greenwood the Division Bravo commander?
I don't know. We can talk to him about that.
Let's ask him.
Yeah, but it was a ripping fire. I was one of the first photographers on scene. I beat a handful of news companies there.
You beat all of them.
Which that always, again, no knock to the news guys, but I could see it on your face when you realize that I beat you to a scene.
He's like, ha, nerd.
And yeah, they don't like it too much. Again, maybe if you start taking my footage, we'll talk about that. I have a love-hate relationship with news companies, and maybe we'll get into that on a podcast. Again, no disrespect. It is what it is. Use my shit more. It's good.
Like, I'm giving it to you for free. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's courtesy footage. But yeah, that was a big fire.
They were on that for like 7 hours, weren't they?
For a while, overhaul took a long time. They
Well,
actually
it's a tin
brought,
building.
they brought equipment down from the highway district, Ada County
And
Highway.
didn't BLM come down with a dozer too?
No, they just used the highway department brought in a backhoe and just a regular loader.
I
And
heard
they just piled through.
They were thinking about calling BLM for a dozer just to get all that shit out of there.
I didn't see anything.
I don't know if they ever used it, but I was already on the road to Colorado by the time the incident was over.
Yeah, it was quite a fire. So
because Boise Fire, they have what 17 stations, including the airport.
17 or 18. I don't know
that are in service.
Yeah,
that are in service.
13th is on the way soon. Construction starting next.
Oh, they're finally building it.
Yeah, well, construction starts next year, and I want to say March of 24.
That's good.
Yeah,
Boise Fire for a municipal department in a relatively less populated state.
Yeah, they are the largest department in the state, I think.
Well, they're the biggest city in the state, so I would hope so.
I would damn hope so.
They have 3 truck companies. For those of you that aren't well versed, truck is ladder truck. Engine is one that sprays water.
Engine is what people think of when you say fire truck.
But when you say fire truck, we think of a ladder truck, tower ladder. So they have 3, and all
pretty
3
much
of those,
anything with an aerial apparatus.
All 3 of those units were on that fire, pumping water, or not pumping, flowing water out of their buckets, master streams, whatever you want to call them. Truck 4 or Tower 4 for you folks on the East Coast, Tower 7 and Ladder 5 were on that. And Max got some. If you guys go check out Max's Instagram at the word 10, the number 76 media, he's got some baller photos of that fire. And
they're pretty good.
I've done some like real professional photography in my day that like people have been published and whatnot. And I was just like, God damn, like, wow.
I mean, again, part of that is back to the situation, a dinky little dumpster fire. You're not going to get the same level of.
I will say your TikTok for a dinky little encampment fire was pretty good. I kind of stalked your TikTok when we first met.
I do what I can. Yeah, God, that was a good fire though, and that really was when I was starting. That time period was when I was kind of transitioning from more of a hobby to how can I turn this into more of a legitimate business and
I kept annoying
more
you
of a serious. Yeah, you did, but I mean, I was feeling the itch to get out there and do more, and that once I shot that fire, once that happened, I started getting the feedback on the photos. I'm like, okay, we can go somewhere with this.
I mean,
here we are.
I was really fortunate to meet Max at a really sad event, Caldwell Fire, the Caldwell Fire Department in Idaho. I have nothing but good things to say about them. They're a great group of guys. Like their brass is awesome. I have not
worked with them much, but the time that I have, they've been a phenomenal group.
Like they don't care if you're on their scenes as long as you're not in their way. They'll talk to you. They'll ask you for business cards. They get the photos. They're just an all around super cool group of people that just love the job.
Yeah.
Caldwell Fire Department lost their training chief, Brad Trotsky Johnson Trotsky.
I've seen it both ways.
I think it's Trotsky Johnson.
It's bad that we don't know this, but
it's been a while since I've looked at it. But he passed away, unfortunately. The really sad part was that he lived in Caldwell. So when his wife called 911, it was a Caldwell unit that responded, and they had to do CPR on their chief, on one of their chiefs in the back of an ambulance, and he died en route to the hospital. That was the really, really sad part. Apparently, according to our mutually good friend Gino, the entire department was taken out of service that evening. Relief crews were brought in. The city of Nampa, big props to them. They came out and helped cover. Midstar helped cover. Parma helped cover. Wilder, Greenleaf helped cover because Max isn't a first responder, but he hangs out with people like me and Gino.
I'm first responder adjacent. I always say, like I'm
You're like that guy we keep in the closet for like when we need him.
I'm the barnacle with a camera. Can't get rid of me, and I'm always around.
So Max understands like what it means to lose someone in this community because, and not to sound like super high and mighty and sappy, but we would literally die for each other. And when one of us goes, even if it's not like in the line of duty, or I should say, if you're an active duty person, you die, you're in the line of duty, but it's like on a fire or on a car wreck or something like that. It really fucking hurts. Like it hurts the whole community. Like as far as I think Gino said guys, look back at the Fool's post. Guys came as far as Louisiana for his funeral. Like
Yeah.
people did not like people traveled for that.
While you're looking for that, that was unfortunately, um, unfortunate because of the circumstances. That is where Brian and I met. We came out to shoot the procession. All of the neighboring agencies, both fire and police, they came out and they did a full funeral escort with apparatus and everything, kind of a like a celebration and parade of Chief coming through to the Idaho Center in Nampa. So we were positioned up to shoot that coming in. Got some really amazing photos. I think they turned out really well. And it's just one of those things, capturing that moment, being able to honor him and honor the event, the family members, the other first responders there that have that relationship, that brotherhood with him. That is some of the value where we can, turn around. I was getting DMs, and I'm sure you were the same way, getting emails and DMs all day for people saying, hey, do you mind, I'm so and so, I'm related to him this way. Do you mind
Yeah.
sending these pictures over? Do you mind sending me video? That kind of thing. And to me, that is what's special. That is the value in being able to provide.
The really cool thing about that funeral from our perspective was Sand Hollow Fire. They are a small, like really small volunteer department in Western Idaho. And they showed up with like 10 of their guys that were photographers with drone operators. It wasn't just me and Max running around. There was like 12 of us running around this funeral doing this. And the family had hired a photographer too. And what was really cool, I have this one photo that I took of, I believe, Chief Johnson's daughter and his two sons escorting his remains into the funeral. And his two sons are firefighters. One with the Middleton Star Fire Protection District, one with the Caldwell Fire Protection District. And I don't know if Gino told you, Cody is the safety captain now.
Yep.
He's driving his dad's old rig.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool photo that I hung it in my office. I'm not going to lie. Like it breaks my heart to look at it, but it is probably one of the most important photos I've ever taken, because that moment is probably the saddest moment of their lives, but it's something they can remember their dad by, that there were so many people that showed up to honor him. Yeah. And Gino said that we obviously left as the funeral started.
Yeah, our main focus was that procession.
And it wasn't for us. The funeral was not for us. It was for the family and for the colleagues. Gino said that there was not a dry eye in the room when they played out his call on the radio. Like he's like, firefighters that have seen death for 30 years and were sobbing.
Yeah, you're losing one of your own. And like I was saying, that to me as a photographer, that is my value, is being able to provide that. And even on lighter terms, on other scenes and that kind of stuff, to me, my value as a photographer comes from providing that recognition and that image that isn't normally captured, especially for first responders and stuff. There's a lot, and this kind of goes across the board to all departments on an administrative level. You have that recognition, but it's all after the fact. But to me, I am there on a scene. I am shooting it when it's happening, and that is the value in the photography and the photos and videos that we take, is being able to see the guys and girls getting it right there as it's happening, and being able to have that that image saved for them. That is some value there for sure.
So Drew said it best the other day, when this is from Mike's comment on my Facebook post. We get to do cool, badass shit every day. Because of you, I can show my kids something their dad did some really cool, badass shit. And that is why we do it. At least for me, I got sick of the way the news is portraying them constantly standing around. Like, it's not what they do at all.
Yeah.
Like, they do some baller shit.
Yeah, that to me is a big thing. And also why, again, we'll probably get into this in another episode, my kind of departure from news focus. It's just, you're there and you're shooting the thing, but you're not capturing the people and the story. And that's what I like to focus on. Get some all around pictures, but to me, the really special thing is the people that are doing that, because the fire would not be put out without the people. The patients in a crash would not be taken care of without the people. Go to the police side. Victims wouldn't be helped, criminals wouldn't be apprehended without the people. And that is what I like to show. And again, without trying to sound too high and mighty and all of that, it's just that is the value, is being able to capture them in their element, doing what they've trained to do, and being able to show them that.
And it's from dispatch on down. Like,
yeah,
we couldn't do our jobs without the dispatchers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, God, our ability to listen to stuff. And we can, again, I'm saying this, saving all of this for future episodes so that we actually have content, and also so we don't sit here for too long. But going into kind of the bread and butter and the operations of how we do stuff, we can talk about that at some point. But yeah, without every aspect of that operation, it helps us there. But there's just not a lot of recognition for what is done, at least what is actively being done, and to me that's the special part. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. Check us back whenever the next episode is. Who knows? We're gonna figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out, whether it's going to be bi-weekly, monthly type of deal. Follow us both on pretty much all socials. I am at TEN76 Media everywhere, and you are 760 Fire Photo.
Do we know how we're going to put this podcast out? We doing YouTube? We doing Spotify?
Yeah, so
what are we doing?
All major platforms. It'll be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. I think that's Audible. All those other ones, YouTube as well. Maybe video in the future if this one isn't video already. Check us out there. We don't have a podcast specific page yet, but for now, tune into our socials. But yeah, whatever your favorite way to listen to a podcast is, you will be able to find us there.
My name is Brian. This is Max. This is the Frames and Flames podcast. Thank you guys. Have a great night. Happy New Year. Holy fuck, it's 2023. Hopefully it doesn't suck as much as the last year, but it's already kind of leaning that way. So
we'll see.
Survive if you can.
See you all later. Thanks for tuning in. The Frames and Flames podcast is produced in collaboration between 1076 Media and 760 Fire Photo. For more information on the show and to find out about future guests and episodes, please check out our social media at TEN76 Media and 760 Fire Photo. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.